Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Gail's gameplay of Goosebumps HorrorTown. My name is Grimokan, and I'm here again to give you a new walkthrough of sorts. This is actually going to be something new I'm going to be trying moving on when it comes to limited time content updates, usually these events. And the way I'm going to go about this is I'm going to have an introduction, which is basically what you're seeing right now, and then that will lead on to the event itself. The reason for this is because I feel like the beginnings of the videos, for the last two, or the three, have been pretty long-winded, to say the least. So I wanted to give up all my introduction thoughts here, leading up to what this event is, compared to the beginning of the video, which is just going to be straight on to what the content update has for us to go by. Hopefully this makes sense. You'll probably see how it is. I'm going to try this out for the next little while. If this ends up working well as I hope it's going to be, this might be the new method moving forward. So do that as they are. We'll see how it goes. So anyways, let's talk about this next event. This is going to be the 5th update compared to the game, and the 5th I mean like the limited time update, so this is the 5th one now, and this is the first one of this year, 2019. Now, as far as what was going to go on, we kind of had some suspicions of what it could be, especially on my end. I thought for sure this was going to be basically something to do with Valentine's Day. The reason for that is that because games like Snoopy's Town Tales and I believe, and to a lesser extent, these Sandbox Evolution usually update something new when it comes to Valentine's Day as a theming wise. So it wouldn't be out of the question that they tend to have something be evolving around Valentine's Day. Because as I've seen with the company, they tend to do things very seasonally, so the updates will coincide to what's going on as of now. So the biggest question relies on what exactly were they going to do, because, well, R.L. Stine's never really wrote a story that was love-based, or even going as far as to say that stuff in Goosebumps that took place in Valentine's Day, as far as we know. To be fair, though, he has written and done stuff within that time and stuff. The theming of it anyways, in like books on the Fear Street series and vice versa, other stuff, but Goosebump wise, not really. So this was more or less seeing how creative the team was going to go with trying to make this into something unique and experience of what we're going to be expecting. So at some point during a few weeks, we heard rumors, or we heard some mummers within the community talking about certain characters popping in. And one of the things that I've noticed when it came onto their Facebook page was that people were talking and wanting to see Will Blake pop in. And if you don't know who Will Blake is, he is from the story Werewolf of Fever Swamp. Now, I can see why, because he is one of the more popular characters, or well known within the book series, and also to be fair, he was also featured during the two movies of the two Goosebump movies that came out recently, in the past few years. So people would probably know who Will Blake is, as far as characters go. So it was a given that this character was going to come. However, I didn't really think it was going to be that tied to a limited time update. I'd always see them as being something permanent for the content, because, like, if you had the Abominable Snowman in Pasadena be a permanent content, why wouldn't Will be? So I had doubts that it was going to be anything to do with werewolves per se. So my mind was going to more vampires, because in my mind I was figuring that it could probably make sense, because vampires love blood. Hearts are usually a symbol of Valentine's and love and all that stuff. And I figured, okay, maybe it'll be a vampire type thing, and who knows. So that was my given. That was my viewing of it. And we've had some discussions here and there with the people within the community. And we kind of were arguing. It was almost like we were kind of going with a apologies, I'm blanking out here, but it was almost like we were kind of doing a Twilight scenario where one side is arguing for werewolves and the other one's arguing for vampires. So it's like a Jacob versus Edward situation, which very old meme indeed. But regardless, we finally kind of got some sort of confirmation, somewhat, saying that, from what I've understood, they were saying that the update would be coming on February 7th, which was going to be within a few weeks, or within a week's time. So we're kind of getting hype and excited, which made sense because there are other games like Snoopy's Town Tale and the other game I mentioned before, the Sandbox Evolution. They were getting their updates already up there as of this week's time. So by the time Thursday hits around, no update. In fact, there was nothing to be seen at all. And this was because they had some issues going forward. What they found was that there were a few minor bugs they had to fix here and there before they released this patch, because the last thing they want to do is what happened during Christmas when they released a patch and threw it out there and ended up causing some bugs, meaning one of them being the houses and decorations and stuff being taken away from your town out of nowhere, which is a really nasty bug, I will say. So, as Miyamoto said, a good game comes out when it's ready. A rush game will forever be bad. Along those lines, not verbatim, but it's the basic. Anyways, long story short, what they did instead on February 7th was they gave us a teaser of what to expect coming forward. So, the first teaser that popped up on the February 7th date was this image of a girl. And her comment is, "This town is creepy. And what's with all this weird, scary howling?" And on their quote here, or what they've said, is this: "Courtney King is a brave investigator who's going to be dropping into HorrorTown. But what is bringing her here? Leave your best guess down below." So, of course, as soon as we saw this character being named as Courtney King, it was somewhat apparent that this character was going to come into play. If you don't know who this character is, she's actually from the book You Can't Scare Me. She's one of the main characters of the story, not so much as being the lead character role, but more so one of the lead protagonists as a sorts, because the story revolved around was this: Courtney King was a person who was basically has no fear or is brave, so she basically sees everything as like, whatever, kind of like emotionless kind of deal. And this bothered two kids within her class, so they tried their best to try to spook her, but every time this happened, it failed or backfired on them. So this ended up having this whole, long story short, this the cover art with these mud monsters. It turned out that this city, or this town that they're in, there was an urban legend about these mud monsters that come up. So they're like, I got it, we're gonna scare her with these mud monsters. So in the story, I liked the story version compared to the show version. The show version kind of made her seem more arrogant and like. It was weird because as soon as the monsters finally come out alive to see them like they actually do exist, Courtney just seemed more annoyed and be like, "Excuse me, monsters, you should be like, and the monsters are standing there like, what the, like confused and dazed of what was going on here." But in the story, when she sees these monsters exist, this is the first time she actually gets scared and runs. The difference of the ending, though, is that despite her being afraid, she actually ends up being excited to see, like, oh man, monsters do exist. I want to find them all. And the other two boys are, like, scared, like, crapless now. Like, they are really terrified. Like, very skittish. Well, although, Courtney's now scared, or got scared, she ended up being more excited than anything else. So I loved that kind of part of the story versus the show kind of made her seem like she was an emotionless kind of person. Fun fact, by the way, in the story, Courtney was only given that name, while as in the show, they gave her the last name King. So Courtney King, the full name, was actually based on the show, and I believe the look of her as well. Meanwhile, the actual book just referred to her as just Courtney. So that's a fun fact for you there. So that's there and good. So the next day, on February 8th, we got another teaser posted onto Facebook. This time, confirming something here with this image. Now, as you could probably see, this looks like there's going to be a dancing floor here. And by the looks of it, it seems like they're going to implement what they've done in Snoopy's Town Tale with having animations where characters can dance on the floor, paddle of sorts. And it seems like the monsters are also dancing there too, and that's interesting. So this is what this comment said here. Seems like all love is in the air, or at least love songs as the wild dance party. I wonder what's on the fun surprises will be in store for next week. Winky face. So this is just confirming that this update won't be coming until next week's time. So basically the week of Valentine's Day, which sucked. Unfortunately, a lot of us people would be like, very disappointed. We wanted to see this right now, kind of deal. I know we feel very entitled. I know, but you know, this kind of made me more excited. So not only does the image show like a new animation with all these characters dancing, and also confirmed at the corner over there next to Slappy that Courtney King is definitely going to be one of the key featured characters in this update. But on the top right corner there, we've seen what looks like, in honesty, in my opinion, looks like maybe what is the bit of a heart symbol. So this is confirming from the look of this event area, which I'm assuming it's the event area on the for Manium. Sorry, in the event area. I don't know what they call it. Weird name for it. Judging by the look of the event area and the fact that there's love decorations, all that, it is safe to say that this will indeed be a Valentine's Day update, and it would be a limited time update. So this is being confirmed that this is going to be somewhat the case. So now the question remains of what exactly will Courtney King be playing a part in this update of sorts? Well, that is, again, we have no idea what was going on. And then we finally get our last kind of teaser. This time they showed us this image the next day, February 9th. Now this update basically does reconfirms that this is going to be a Valentine's Day update, and it basically just shows us some of the items that's going to be played in this update. And this is what this page said here. Forget flowers and chocolate. How about teddy bears and generous gruels? We have some lovely surprises in store for you for Valentine's Day. Winky face. So this is definitely now confirming that this will be indeed a Valentine's Day update. And it's going to be a limited time update, so this is going to be somewhat a theme. So now it's a question of what exactly is this going to be coming in here, and what is going to be apparent, what the theme's going to be. Well, that was, I was trying to figure out what is exactly going to be coming here. Now, it's around this time that I was kind of getting desperate of trying to find some sort of information on what was going on here. Now, I wanted to know exactly what was coming up, or what would the theming be, and a lot of people say that this could definitely be where a lot of these characters will be coming from. So I ended up looking at their other social media pages. They have one on Twitter, but they also have one on Instagram. So I decided to look on Instagram, and out of curiosity, I ended up clicking on one of the pictures they've already shared on their Facebook page. And something interesting popped up. On the corner here, there are some hashtags. And there were two words that popped up that basically just made me just, well, let me show you here. Hashtag werewolf, hashtag fever swamp. Oh, okay, so this is going to be a limited time update with Fever Swamp. I really don't know how they were going to do this, because I honestly feel like Fever Swamp was going to be a permanent thing. But it seems like this is where it's going to lead into now. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is where I end up revealing what this event is going to be about. So, on Monday, February the 11th, We finally got the update, and we finally got what was going to be coming to this store. So you might be curious, what will Courtney King, the Werewolf of Fever Swamp, and Valentine's Day have anything to do with one another? Well, I can't really think of anything. But they ended up dropping the update on us, and I'm about to unveil to you what this year's update is. So, the first of 2019's limited time update, number 5, is going to be Valentine's Night Fever. And as you can see here, it looks really cool. It has this interesting 3D-ish effect going on with the screen. And are the zombies doing the Thriller dance? They are. Oh, I can already see where this is going. So not only did they combine the words Valentine's Day with this event, but they've also combined the word fever from the Werewolf of Fever Swamp. But if you're wondering why they came up with this name, it's actually also based off of what's going on in this event. Because this is also a play on words on a movie called Saturday Night Fever, which was a movie starring John Travolta, which was basically more of his 70s disco-like dancing thing, so you get the idea here. And as you read the update, you finally get to realize exactly what they have in store. Werewolves and dancing zombies arrive at HorrorTown to celebrate Valentine's Day. Show your move with the dancing monsters in the only way Goosebumps knows. Terrifyingly. So the new event arrives in HorrorTown. Now this is actually something I really find interesting. Although this is going to be with the Werewolf of Fever Swamp, it is going to be a permanent content update. Meaning that although this is going to be themed with the Werewolf of Fever Swamp, it won't go away once the event's over. Thank you for that. There's 2 new characters that will actually be joining the cast. One of them being Courtney King, which we've already discussed, and the eccentric Will Blake. So this has confirmed that this character here that we've seen before is Will Blake. Which is interesting because I remember seeing this kid back in the Goosebumps playthrough where we saw what looked like a kid talking to Lucy about when it came to the disappearance of Cynthia back in the Scarecrow Walks at Midnight. So we actually got to see a sneak peek at who this kid was, and now we finally know this is Will Blake. Also, I love how Will looks very 90s. Like, really 90s. Like, ooh. Oh, man. There's 2 new premium monsters also going to be made available. Madame Doom and the Sleep Master. That's really intriguing characters. I really wonder how they're going to look in this game and what they have planned for these characters in this event. Like every update bringing something new to the table to try out, it seems like this year they're trying something new that might be permanent. We'll find out soon. That is called the dual animations. Much like how Snoopy's Town Tale has it so that characters interact with one another, now characters can interact with each other for better items. Meaning that characters will now, if you have 2 characters of the same thing doing one or another, we can now have them do stuff to actually gain more better items. So this will be interesting to see how this plays out, for sure. The new high-level content available, discover the zone of the west of the swamp. And such as before, there will be 20 new items to collect, there will be 5 new suppliers I'll be able to get these items from, there will be 40 new narrations, which I'm pretty much sure is combining the permanent content of Werewolf Fever Swamp with the Valentine Night Fever quest lines. There's going to be 30 plus new animations, 20 new decorations, and there's other adjustments that make this game a little bit more pleasurable to experience. So, I hope this intrigued you very more as much as it did for me. In the next video, we're going to be moving forward with this update, and we're going to be taking a look at what this first impressions is when I first see this game, as well as looking at a few of the quest lines and talking about what we see here. So, with this in mind, tell me what you think. Did you like this theming of sorts? What do you think this is going to be all about? Let me know down below. with that in mind, thank you for watching this introduction of sorts. Let me know if you actually preferred this way of moving content over when it comes to these updates, because it would be helpful for me to know for the future. With that in mind, my name has been Grimokan. I'll see you in the next part, in part 1 of this playthrough. Have a good night.